The sound was sickening, a dull thud that echoed through the marble hallway and stopped every conversation mid-sentence. The richest man in the building lay unconscious on the floor. Security froze. Executives stood paralyzed. And the only person who moved was the janitor everyone pretended didn't exist. What happened in the next 48 hours would restore faith in humanity, but not in the way anyone expected. Marcus Chen had been invisible for 3 years. Not literally, but in every way that mattered. He pushed his cleaning cart through the gleaming headquarters of Titan Industries every night, mopping floors that cost more per square foot than his entire month's rent. People stepped around him without looking. Some wrinkled their noses. Others checked their phones, as if his presence was an interruption to their important lives. He'd learned not to make eye contact, learned to keep his head down, learned that invisible people don't get hurt, they just get ignored. And Marcus was fine with that. He had a daughter to feed, a roof to maintain, bills that didn't care about dignity. But that Tuesday night at 9:47 p.m., everything changed. Richard Ashford, Billionaire CEO, the man whose signature could move markets, walked through the lobby surrounded by tension. Marcus noticed the way Ashford's hand pressed briefly against his chest, the way his breathing changed, the slight stumble no one else saw. Then Ashford collapsed, and the world stopped. Someone laughed nervously. A security guard reached out too late, his hand hovering uselessly. An executive whispered, "Should we?" But no one moved. Fear of lawsuits. Fear of doing the wrong thing. Fear of getting involved. Marcus dropped his mop. Water splashed across the polished marble. His heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at him to stay back. Years of being invisible had taught him that stepping forward brought trouble. But then he saw Ashford's face turning gray. Marcus ran. "Call an ambulance." His voice cut through the paralysis like a gunshot. Heads turned, some startled, some annoyed. How dare the janitor speak? He knelt beside the billionaire, checked his pulse. Weak. Too weak. Without waiting for permission, Marcus began CPR. Hard compressions. Counting under his breath. His arms screaming. Sweat dripping. "What are you doing?" someone hissed. "Saving his life." Marcus snapped back, never looking up. When paramedics finally arrived, they took over. Defibrillator. Oxygen. Urgency. Marcus stumbled back, hands trembling, watching as Ashford was loaded onto a stretcher. For one brief moment, he caught a glimpse of the billionaire's face, vulnerable, human, fragile in a way no amount of money could hide. Then the ambulance doors closed, and Marcus's nightmare began. No one said thank you. Instead, a security guard turned to Marcus with narrowed eyes. "Why were you touching him?" He collapsed. "I helped." "Did anyone authorize you to do that?" The words hit like a punch. An executive joined them, arms crossed. "Do you have medical training?" "I took emergency response classes when you were what?" "Trying to be someone important." Marcus was escorted to a small room. Questions fired from every angle. Where exactly were you standing? Why were you in that area? Did you touch anything else? Hours passed. No apology. No thank you. Just a cold warning. Remain available for further questioning. Ashford survived the night. The company issued a statement praising their rapid emergency response protocols. Executives congratulated each other. Marcus's name wasn't mentioned. Then the whispers started. He panicked and made it worse. Lucky he wasn't sued. Probably staged it for attention. A week later, Marcus was called into HR. "We're letting you go." The manager didn't meet his eyes. There were concerns. Legal risks. "I saved his life," Marcus whispered, voice cracking. "That's not the issue." He walked out with a cardboard box and a hollow feeling in his chest. The billionaire never called. Never sent a word. Never acknowledged the man who refused to let him die. Marcus's phone exploded with notifications. Anonymous messages. "You should have left him." "People like you always want attention." "Know your place." By noon, blogs picked up the story, fragments twisted into ugliness. Maintenance worker interfered before professionals arrived. Interfered. The word burned. Marcus replayed that moment constantly. Ashford's color fading. The weak pulse. Everyone else frozen. If he hadn't acted, Ashford would be dead. But that truth didn't seem to matter. At the corner store, people whispered loud enough for him to hear. "That's the janitor." The cashier looked at him with caution, like he was unstable. Job applications went nowhere. Background checks stalled. Calls never came. Bills piled up. Rent notices appeared. His daughter asked why Daddy looked so sad. Marcus had no answer. One night, his sister called. "Tell me what really happened." I helped him. Silence. And now, they destroyed me. He sat in his darkening apartment, staring at the eviction notice, wondering if doing the right thing had been the biggest mistake of his life. 3 weeks after Marcus saved his life, the phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Is this Marcus Chen?" A woman's voice. Professional. "Yes. Mr. Ashford would like to meet you. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'm sending the address." Marcus's hands shook as he stared at the message. Part of him wanted to ignore it, to let Ashford live with the guilt. But another part, the part that still believed in second chances, needed to know why. The next morning, Marcus stood outside a private office building downtown. No press. No cameras. Just silence and glass. A receptionist led him to a top-floor office where Richard Ashford sat behind a desk, looking older than Marcus remembered. Thinner. Tired. "Sit," Ashford said quietly. Marcus sat, jaw tight. "I'm sorry," Ashford began. "Those are the 2 hardest words I've ever said." Silence filled the room. "I was in a coma for 2 weeks," Ashford continued. "When I woke up, they told me what happened. They told me a janitor had saved my life. I asked who. They gave me your name, and then they told me you'd been fired." Marcus's throat tightened. "You could have stopped it." "I didn't know," Ashford said. "By the time I was conscious, you were already gone. My legal team had already made their decision. Protect the company, minimize risk. They saw you as a liability." "I was trying to save your life," Marcus said, voice breaking. "I know," Ashford replied. "And I owe you mine." Ashford slid a folder across the desk. "I can't undo what happened, but I can try to make it right." Marcus opened it. Inside a check. 6 figures. More money than he'd earned in 10 years. "I don't want your money," Marcus said, pushing it back. Ashford smiled sadly. "I expected you'd say that. Which is why there's more." He handed Marcus another document. A job offer. Director of Safety and Emergency Response. "You'll oversee training programs across all my companies. Make sure no one ever freezes again the way my team did." Marcus stared, speechless. "Your daughter deserves better than watching her father struggle," Ashford said. "And I deserve to live knowing I didn't let the man who saved me suffer in silence." Tears slipped down Marcus's face. "Why now?" "Because I spent 2 weeks in a hospital bed realizing that money, power, none of it mattered," Ashford said. "The only thing that mattered was that a man I'd never spoken to refused to let me die. And that changed everything." 6 months later, Marcus stood before a room full of new hires at Titan Industries. "My name is Marcus Chen," he said. "I used to be invisible here. But one night, I made a choice that changed my life." He told them the story. The collapse. The fear. The decision to act when everyone else froze. "I'm not here to tell you I'm a hero," he said. "I'm here to tell you that doing the right thing will cost you something. But not doing it will cost you everything." The room was silent. Then someone in the back, a young woman in a maintenance uniform, raised her hand. "What if no one sees us?" Marcus smiled. "Someone always sees. And more importantly, you see yourself." After the training, Ashford found Marcus in the hallway. "You're a natural," he said. "I'm just honest," Marcus replied. "That's why it works." "I've been thinking," Ashford said. "This program needs to go national. Every major corporation should have emergency response training like this. And I want you to lead it." Marcus looked at him. "National." "You saved one life that night," Ashford said. "Imagine how many more you could save." Marcus thought about the janitor he used to be. Invisible, ignored, afraid to be seen. And he thought about the man he was now, standing in the same hallway where he'd once mopped floors, about to change thousands of lives. "Let's do it," he said. 2 years later, the Chen Emergency Response Initiative had trained over 50,000 workers across 200 companies. Lives were saved. Emergencies were handled. People who used to be invisible were now empowered. Marcus received an award at a national safety conference. As he stood on stage, he looked out at the crowd, janitors, security guards, maintenance workers, people just like him. And he saw something he'd never seen before. He saw them seeing themselves. "I was invisible for 3 years," Marcus said into the microphone. "Not because I was unimportant, but because people chose not to see me. Until the night I refused to be invisible anymore." You don't need permission to do the right thing. You don't need a title or authority. You just need courage. And sometimes that single moment of courage changes everything. The crowd stood. Applause thundered. But Marcus wasn't thinking about the award or the recognition. He was thinking about his daughter, who now looked at him with pride instead of worry. About Ashford, who'd learned that true power isn't in wealth, it's in acknowledging those who save you. And about every person who'd ever felt invisible, hoping they'd find their moment to step forward. Because that night on the marble floor, Chen didn't just save a billionaire's life. He saved his own. This story proves that one moment of courage can change everything. If it moved you, please hit that like button. It helps more people discover stories like this. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next inspiring true story. And tell us in the comments, would you have stepped forward when everyone else froze? Your answer might inspire someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching. Remember, you're never invisible to the people you help. See you in the next story.